Am I the meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the prettiest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this town?
Sure enough.
Oh, sure enough, the Giant game went out. Oh, this is Tim, this New York Giants Straight Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC. It's the Monday after the game, and not much has changed. It's still a loss. It's still a bad loss. But somewhere out in the multiverse or in the NFL, Joe Judge is smiling. Joe Judge is laughing. So is Dave Gettleman, because of the fact that what the Giants did and what they accomplished yesterday was a monumental feat. They wanted to be one of the first teams since I believe it was the Oilers, not the Houston Oilers, or maybe it was the Oilers. I don't remember. It was back in 2006 that they were the only team to win one of the few teams to win a NFL game in the modern history with negative passing yards. The Giants could not have been more ill prepared for this game. And I don't mean on the field 100%. I mean with the fact that the situation at quarterback. And we've talked about this before. We've talked about this multitudes of times. The problem with this is the fact is you knew Daniel Jones wasn't going to play. You've probably known for like 3 weeks now, Daniel Jones wasn't going to play. You knew Tyrod Taylor has a history of injuries and he's going up against a really good defense. I think they have technically a championship style defense in with the Jets. And the odds of him surviving multitudes of weeks were pretty low. I've said this before. Tyrod Taylor is not the answer. He's not the question. He's not the answer. He's the answer for a short period of time. But the problem is this: you needed to have some type of reliable backup. We made fun of Judge and Gettleman for the Jake Fromm and the Mike Glennon fiasco. This is just as bad. You're going into a Jet game. You're going into a interstate rivalry game. Excuse me, I can't talk. And you're going in with Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito. You've had at least 3 weeks. 3 weeks to get a quarterback in here. You've had all that time that you could have had a quarterback on the practice squad. And with the new NFL rules, you could have had that third quarterback dress and be ready in case something happened, in case an injury happened, in case something happened. But instead, you went with the backup of Tommy DeVito. This reeks of Jake Fromm. Literally, it reeks. And then you let him throw the ball 4 times. Doesn't complete a pass. Everyone knew you were going to run. It was almost like you were waiting out the Jets to hopefully that the time would just run out and you wouldn't have anything to worry about. But it didn't. It fell apart. It fell apart. And instead of having a victory, you gifted the game at times to the Jets. And I know a lot of people are going to complain about the Graham Gano field goal or missed field goal at the end. You know, a lot of people are like, well, why didn't you just run the ball with Saquon Barkley? Because of the fact that you have Gano-O-Matic. You're going to put points up on the board. You're going to make them get a touchdown to win the game. The field goal is not going to do any good. And then you feel the fact that even if you miss, they're going to have to drive down the field with no timeouts on their own 25-yard line. So it's indicative, and I don't blame Daboll for that. But then it's one of those things that you have to feel, okay, well, even when he missed, there's only like 24, 25 seconds left in the game or whatever it was exactly. And you feel that you're feeling pretty good because you're going to have to get in field goal range. And then they go for that long pass. You know, he hits Garrett Wilson, the 20-yard pass. But everyone but me seems to be overlooking the fact, and we talked about this yesterday, that offsides penalty on Kayvon Thibodeau was huge because of the fact that it stopped the clock. On that 29-yard pass to Garrett, the Jets would have had to have run down and spiked the ball, which probably would have had like maybe 2 or 3 seconds left on the clock because they were going to have to go down the field, run 29 yards down the field, set up and get ready. But instead, that penalty, even though it was declined, stopped the clock with 17 seconds left. But we don't want to talk about that because Kayvon Thibodeau's in some regards is turning into Daniel Jones in reference to you're not allowed to say, yeah, he had a good game, but you're not allowed to question anything that he does wrong. Then you add the interference penalty on Dory Jackson, which it was a penalty. That was a penalty. There's no doubt in my mind that was a penalty. But I think the biggest issue out of all this is the fact that you went into a game knowing that Tommy DeVito was your backup. You went into a game knowing that you would probably not have the ability to throw the ball once he came into the game if something happened to Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor stayed in the hospital overnight. It's a rib injury. Since he stayed in the hospital overnight, I'm going to think more than likely that it is it's probably some broken ribs. But at the end of the day, you didn't do it. You went into the game ill prepared. This was, like I said, this was a Judge and Gettleman move. You went into the game knowing that Tommy DeVito was your backup, and then if something bad happened, you went into the game evidently knowing you weren't going to throw the ball at all. You can't have a backup quarterback in this league who can't throw the ball, or you have zero confidence in allowing them to throw the ball. Tommy DeVito, I mean, you're looking at Tommy DeVito, and if he's supposed to be your third string quarterback, he should have the capability of throwing a 3-yard out or swinging a pass out to Barkley out of the backfield or something. He had the very nice touchdown run. But at the end of the day, everyone knew it was going to be Barkley left, Barkley right, Barkley up the middle, and put in a little burrito. Everybody knew that. And you were going to rely on your defense. And your defense played well enough to win the game because of the fact that the people forget the Jets lost both of their centers and had a guard playing center. They had multitudes of injuries. This is a game, even with Tommy DeVito being in the game, the Giants should have found a way to win, especially with the lead. Because Zach Wilson, for all of his high status in reference to the draft choice, just isn't there. It just isn't the guy. You had the terrible weather, but in a Judgian moment, you sit there and say, well, you know what, we're going to be fine with Tommy DeVito. You couldn't bring in you couldn't just go out and get like a Carson Wentz. You couldn't go out and get a Nick Foles. Now the thing is, it looks like that Kirk Cousins is out for the season in Minnesota. So you're going to have another person looking for a quarterback as well. Another team looking for a quarterback. And then I love it because now you see reports that Daniel Jones had significant weakness on his left side from his neck injury. And there's talk that he may come back in Dallas. Probably not going to be back next week. So the injuries are piling up. I mean, like I said, I don't get what Schoen and Daboll did. I'd like to sit there and tell you I understood it. I said in a stream 3 weeks ago, and people were making fun of me, that I was like, I would sign Carson Wentz. If Carson Wentz wants to play, if Carson Wentz wants to come out of retirement or whatever he's doing, if Carson Wentz wants to get off the couch like Justin Pugh, I would go out and get Carson Wentz. Why not? Because he is at least a professional quarterback who can throw the ball down the field. You took your entire offense and just threw it out the window. You might as well, Saquon Barkley is the third string quarterback, or was the third string quarterback. You might as well just ran the Wildcat. Because you ran Barkley 36 times. So why not? And now, and like I said, you only gave up 4 sacks today. What's the matter, R0B? How's that Bobby Johnson doing? But you're looking at this game like it's not like you didn't know what the Jets were going to do. I mean, it's not like the Jets didn't know what the Giants were going to do. They were going to run the ball. And they were going to continue to run the ball. It was just a terrible game. It was just a terrible game to be there. You know, it was one of those things. It was one of those things. If this was the game last year, Giants would have won this game 10-7. We would have won this game because of the fact that you're in the rain, you're everything. I mean, like I said, if on a nice day, on a nice clear day, I think the Giants lose this game like 21-20 or 21-17. But on this rainy day, where everything could go the Giants' way. Then the quarterback gets hurt, but then all the Jets have their injuries. We just weren't prepared. We just weren't ready. And like I said, Joe Judge is smiling. Joe Judge is running a lap for Brian Daboll. I love it because some people are like, well, is Brian Daboll trying to force his way out? Force his way out of New York to get to Buffalo? Because especially if Sean McDermott gets fired, there's rumors always that Brian Daboll would want to take that job in Buffalo. I don't know, guys. Like I said, this season. Last season was a blessing. Last season was fun. Last season was exciting. Now you're 2-6. We've talked about it before. Everyone says you can't give Saquon Barkley the big contract because of the fact that he's injury prone. And last year was one of his few seasons where he was not hurt. But then I love it but then you look at Daniel Jones and you're like, well, last year was Daniel Jones' only season where he wasn't injury prone, but you gave him $160 million. And we talked about the fact before that it's almost like Jones had Shane over a barrel with Mara because, rumor has Daniel Jones called Mara during the negotiations. And at the end of the day, you look at this and you're just like, well, this sucks because of the fact that we don't even have Daniel Jones. Now you don't have Tyrod Taylor. Now you got Tommy DeVito. But if neither Taylor or Jones can go on Sunday, it's going to be Tommy DeVito in question mark. And you're going to have to get a quarterback up to speed in time for next week's game. You're going to have to get him up to speed to go to Vegas. And then after Vegas, this is what I love. After Vegas, you go to Dallas and you go to Washington. 3 away games. Washington looks like they were going to beat Philadelphia. Sam Howell had one hell of a game. I mean, I think you should have an opportunity to hopefully beat Vegas, but I don't know. New England's turned the corner. Lord knows what's going to happen with Green Bay because it's a primetime game. Then you got New Orleans, Philadelphia, the Rams, and the Eagles again. So you could go 0-4 in your last 4 games, especially since the fact that you don't have a quarterback. I mean, what was the thought process here? What was the ability to go out and find a quarterback? Right now, if you go on the market, you got Carson Wentz, who's still available. Matt Ryan, I don't think he's available because he's in the booth. I think you still have Colt McCoy. Joe Flacco's still out there. Nick Foles. You got Bryce Perkins. You got E.G. Perry. You don't have unless you're going to make a trade. At least you're going to swing a trade for a QB. You got some problems here, guys. We got some problems here in Capital City. And I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to do. Because of the fact that you just don't have a situation here where this is attainable for the Giants. You can't start Tommy Vito next week. You can't. You might have to, but you can't. And it's the ill preparedness of Shane and Daboll that have caused this issue. And like I said, I don't understand their injury management either. You've known Andrew Thomas is going to be out for an eternity. Put him on the 4-week IR. Same with Daniel Jones. Don't leave these people on the active roster taking up a spot. Don't leave them on the 53. You got. I don't get it. I don't get the way this team is being managed right now. And like I said, it's scary because it's almost Judgian and Gettlemanian. There's talent on this team. We've said it before. We knew this team was in a rebuild. I don't think people are so delusional to think they don't know they were in a rebuild, but we know this team is in a rebuild. We just didn't know how bad it was going to be. The smart person knew last year was an aberration. We won too many close games. We won too many weird games. And then we fell apart in the second half. If you take a look at where we ended up in the second half of the season to where we are now, our record, we won like 5 games and like out of 17 or something crazy like that. The team is now what we thought they were. And they're gone back to what we know they were. But the problem is this: we're supposed to be getting better. Yeah, you're building the pieces, you're building the foundation. But at the end of the day, you still have the same problems. You still have the same issues. You have a pretty good defense, a terrible offense, a bad offensive line, issue at quarterback, an injury-prone running back, and everyone's going to sit here and tell you everything's fine, but your season went down the toilet at 2-6 on a bad loss because our general manager and our head coach were ill-prepared going into this game and mismanaged the quarterback situation. We're going to have a big live stream today at 6:45 so everyone can come in and rant. And don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to ring that bell because you want to know why. That'd be awesome.